Welcome on in. It is the Canelo Alvarez, Billy Joe Saunders instant reaction here on Morning Combat as the fight has just gone down in Arlington, Texas, inside AT&T Stadium as Big Red Canelo takes one step closer to his goal of 4 titles, the undisputed championship at 168 pounds. My name is Brian Campbell, one half, of course, of this MK duo, giving it to you IA style right after it all ends, right in your face hole. Fired up, of course, to see the pound for pound king back at it and a title fight that mattered against an unbeaten champion. Like this video, please subscribe. And if you're new to these parts in the MK, the Morning Combat world, your boy BC right here and Luke Thomas giving it to you live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern on the YouTubes, hitting all the high notes, right? In boxing and MMA, getting you high, actually, if you will. Will you? I mean, that's really the question. So join the party. We got going on plenty of bonus content, interviews, and all that. I'm not here to sell you anything else, though. Sorry, we were unable to deliver, of course, our Bellator 258 post show. We haven't really gone public, but a member of our crew ended up being in close contact with someone who tested positive for COVID. So out of an abundance of caution, the Morning Combat team left the fight sphere there at the Mohegan Sun on Friday. But everyone's safe. Everyone's good. We picked up where we left off, and we were back at it this Saturday night. Canelo Alvarez bringing his WBA and WBC titles in against the WBO champion, Billy Joe Saunders. You know everything we said coming in, or at least I said, because everyone predicted it'd be easy for Canelo. It'd be a knockout. And it's one of those things where at the end of the day, was it easy for Canelo? I mean, it wasn't overly hard. Was there a knockout? Yes, but I don't think either of those tell the real story, because I was the guy saying, you can't necessarily judge by his recent performances, but when Billy Joe Saunders is activated, when it's a fight that he can't come in overweight or play down to the level of his competition, when it's the biggest fight of his life and the biggest opportunity, and let's not fool around. AT&T Stadium on this Saturday with Canelo Alvarez, it was like the Super Bowl, right? I mean, this was rock star boxing. This was UK style, and maybe that's the charm of the great Eddie Hearn, the promoter from Matchroom Sport, who typically promotes the Anthony Joshuas, but on a fight by fight basis is now guiding Canelo Alvarez. This felt like a major deal. And I think for a short window, Billy Joe Saunders proved and showed everything I had said, that he could be a kryptonite for Canelo Alvarez. This wasn't your typical Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding type guy, come over from the UK, look good domestically, but does he have a backbone when it really matters? Well, Billy Joe Saunders' game isn't predicated as much on the backbone as it is of his unique skill set and daring ways as a unorthodox boxer. But at the end of the day, he did not answer the bell. After round 8, a short right uppercut from Canelo Alvarez landed to the eye socket. You saw instant swelling there. I know in the immediate sort of aftermath of what went down, and it was shocking because at the pivotal point of the fight, when it looked like Saunders had made a run, he had won the 3 previous rounds on my scorecard entering that 8th round. So to see him not get up off the stool, yeah, initially it did look like he quit. Obviously, when you saw how quickly the damage accumulated in his eye, and I think when Chris Mannix of the DAZN broadcast had said he talked to the trainer there of Billy Joe Saunders, and that he couldn't see out of the eye. So I think obviously in this one of those circumstances, and you saw the replays of that punch, that I'm not going to play the quitter role here for Billy Joe Saunders, but there was a thing I sort of said, I guess, offline to Luke Thomas when I was sort of trying to jazz him up for this fight, like a lot of you MMA fans, like there's something to see here. Billy Joe Saunders is different. I had said if he's daring, he's so mentally tough that if there's an opening for him to win this fight, yes, he will do whatever he has to do to win it. But I'd made sort of an offhand comment, like the one thing that worries me, maybe similar to a Roberto Duran no mas situation, that the moment I don't feel like he feels like he has a chance, he's going to be out of there. He's going, and out of there could mean, quitting. It could just mean, surviving. And I think it's hard to know until we get, a report on the damage to his eye. But it seemed like in that moment, he obviously knew that with the compromised vision, he was not going to be able to pull off, what he had hoped for coming in. And we're not going to, disillusion ourselves to believe that Saunders was a monster puncher, but he had certain either advantages or unique skills that I really needed to see Canelo go up against. And to Canelo's credit, right? He wasn't the same fighter from 6-7 years ago against Erislandy Lara and Austin Trout. I mean, the evolution Canelo's made to not just become your pound for pound king, but at 168 pounds, where he's small, to carry his power, to have incredible speed, his timing, and how sharp his shots are. And then the IQ, the way he went to the body consistently to start this fight. I mean, he's the best for a reason. It's not going to be easy for anybody, but Saunders had the size, he had the southpaw stance, he had the guts, he had the creative style. I was a little bit surprised that it took him so long though to establish himself. I know the round one seemed to be a pick 'em round. I gave it to Canelo. In fact, I gave the first 4 to Canelo. And what I saw in those first 4 rounds overall, though I think 2 of them were close, was he's just landing the harder shots. He's not the aggressor per se. He's certainly not throwing more punches than Saunders, but he's throwing punches that matter and he's landing punches that matter. And that's really the key skill. There's 2 key skills in Canelo that we overlook. One is that his defense is incredible. He makes up for a lack of foot speed, or at least a lack of elite foot speed, or at least how it used to look at 154, right? Where you'd be facing faster guys. He's always made up for a lack of foot speed by swiveling his upper body and being just so sharp defensively. So that's one thing that, he just doesn't get a ton of credit for. And there's a lot of other things that with Canelo that are just, you just really see how smart he is and how much of a student of this game he is. And, his body shots, like I mentioned, to open up those first 4 rounds, they're slowing Saunders down. I think he surprised him by beating him to the punch with his speed. But give Saunders credit. After 4 rounds, that's where I felt like he made the adjustment. In round 5, suddenly he's standing in front of Canelo. He's not afraid of what's coming back. He's landing his sort of pot shotting style with the looping shots, bending over, awkward angles, all that. And I don't think he necessarily hurt Canelo, who's got an incredible chin, including in the 2 wars against Gennady Golovkin. But you saw on the replays from rounds 5 and 6, he was landing some decent power shots that were turning Canelo's chin just enough. So it shows you that there's pop there. There's something to worry about. And I thought in rounds 5, 6, 7, I gave all 3 to Saunders. I know Chris Mannix's scorecard on the air for DAZN made it look like, Saunders was up and leading. I didn't have him that far, but he was in this fight. He had made the first championship adjustment. I'm not necessarily sure what it was, but some of it was just swagger induced, right? Like he was suddenly confident again, calling Canelo forward, taunting, flaunting, doing a lot of different things there. But once he felt comfortable enough to stand in front of Canelo and see the punches coming, you saw a different guy. You saw a guy doing the daring stuff with his hands down, but a guy that got comfortable. I wonder if for all this, trash talk and all this talk of Billy Joe's mental toughness, was the moment a little too big for him in the beginning? Was Canelo a little bit better than he thought? Well, whatever it was and how long it took, he made the adjustment. He was, I thought, leading, those middle rounds. And Canelo, it looked a little flustered, a little bit. But, what makes a great fight and what makes great fighters are the constant championship adjustments, not just the one, right? The adjustment that Canelo made in round 8 to basically go back to getting on his bike and just coming after Saunders and cutting tight angles and going to the body. He took away all the swagger that Saunders had the 3 previous rounds, and he's landing hard and he's landing first. And, that's the recipe for success. He hit Saunders with a shot that kind of staggered him a little bit and backed him up, caught him off balance. And I think he woke him up and said, I'm coming after you. And this is what makes Canelo Alvarez so dangerous. When he was at 154, because of the speed difference, he was more of a counter puncher. At 60, it was a little more 50-50. At 68, he's walking people down. And he's a smaller guy, yet he's so accurate and sets the shots up so well. And the other point I was going to make before, when I was long ranting and long winding myself on the underrated nature of Canelo, that second point was that he's such an efficient counterpuncher. It's ridiculous. He landed 53% of his power shots in this fight. And when you land typically 40, it's hard to lose a fight. So he's so efficient that, maybe that's why Canelo Alvarez, just aside from just being a giant star, he gets the benefit of the doubt on these close scorecards historically against Triple G, against Lara, against Trout, Danny Jacobs, because the judges end up favoring his clean, hard counter shots, even though it's not as voluminous as his opponent. Typically, it's just more telling blows. And anytime he did, either early in the fight or in that round 8, sit down and confidently land a hard counter shot. We never saw Saunders go down, but we saw him change his physical demeanor, change his confidence level, change, all that. So at the end of the day, Saunders was good enough to kind of do as advertised, to make things difficult for Canelo in a way that Callum Smith was never going to be able to, even though I don't crap on that fight. Callum Smith was unbeaten, young and big. If he just went for it against Canelo, I mean, we may have saw a little bit more. He saw the speed difference and he had nothing. Okay. Rocky Fielding had nothing, was never going to have nothing. But Saunders, he did what he was supposed to do. He made it an interesting fight. I just don't think any of us saw this coming, that it would end so abruptly, and certainly not Saunders. But when Canelo is able to get you in close and sit down and land flush, I mean, he does damage. That's why he stops guys to the body. We saw against Callum Smith, he's pounded him to the shoulders and arm to the point that he can't even lift his arm. So you're looking at a smart, next level thinker here, and a guy who's got everything together. I mean, this was classic Canelo Alvarez in a lot of ways, but I think the best part, like I mentioned, was the adjustments, the IQ. He's incredible. I mean, cherish him. And if you're not a regular boxing fan, you're watching this, I harp on this a lot. He didn't have to fight Saunders. This is boxing. When you have the leverage and the control, you fight who you want. In fact, you try to line up easy matchups for big money. Canelo's going for the difficult matchup for less money, right? Because he's decided and made the decision that 168 is his best division. That's the division he wants to get all 4 titles in, no matter who's holding the belts. And that's why he took this fight when nobody goes out of their way to fight Saunders. He's a troll. He makes you look bad in the ring. He's hard to negotiate with. Canelo's like, you can have the ring. I don't care about that crap. I'm going to beat you. So, if you thought Saunders was a bum coming in and Canelo was going to stop him, well, he did do that. But if you knew better and knew it could have been a close fight, I mean, if Canelo doesn't land that uppercut to the eye to sort of put out whatever flame was in Saunders to keep coming, and injure him, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He's probably injured, looked to be potentially a broken cheek or eye socket. That fight's probably going the distance, and Saunders probably is going to lose 8-4, but or 9-3 and 8-4. But we can say, you know what? He was in that fight. He had windows there. I mean, that was probably his ceiling all along, right? Maybe the best case scenario was he loses 7-5 across the board. He has his moments, but he doesn't throw enough punches. I mean, he threw enough punches in the rounds he won in this one, which surprised me. So it satisfies everybody, right? If you didn't think this fight was a good fight, well, that's how it played out. And if you knew it could have been, Canelo still rose to the occasion to be even better than that. So at the time of the stoppage to end the 8th round, the judges had it 78-74 for Canelo, 78-74 for Canelo, and 77-75. So you can see that, Saunders was in this fight as we were heading into that second half, but Canelo's just that good. So what's next? What's next. He wants Caleb Plant. He mentioned it. I think Caleb Plant's somewhat pedestrian performance against Caleb Truax, in which, he boxed great, but just didn't seem to go for it. It's not going to help him in terms of the odds against Canelo. Canelo will be a big favorite. I've always liked Caleb Plant's chances against Canelo from the idea of his quickness, and he's a smart boxer and he's aggressive when he needs to be. But even when I used to say those things, and I believed him, Caleb Plant, man, that's going to be a tough out for Canelo if that fight ever happens one day. I didn't think Canelo would go up to 68 and look this good. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's incredible. He's all-time great. And again, he's acting the role of superstar where he's not, when the superstars have all the right, when they get to that point, to put their own financial wants and needs above everyone else, he's putting his legacy above everybody else. Some people are only about pleasing the fans, and those are the guys that historically we love, right? Oscar De La Hoya, say what you will about him. I've said it worse. He always looked to make the biggest fight to please the fans, right? That was what he wanted for his legacy. It's what he wanted for his fans. Canelo has a lot of that, okay? He didn't think there was anything left to do against Triple G because he beat him, once and took a controversial draw. Yet the fans won't stop wanting him to fight Triple G. So now he's saying again, look, I'll do it. You want me to do it? I'll do it. He's saying he'll fight David Benavidez. He's saying he'll fight, Caleb Plant. I mean, he's saying he'll fight Jermall Charlo. So, I like this future of potential matchups. None of them that I could favor over Canelo, to Luke Thomas's point. But if Canelo is willing to risk it and go up and fight Better Beef, that's a fight. If Andre Ward can come back from retirement, that's a fight. To me, Charlo, Benavidez, some of these guys, they present unique matchups, and that's what we want against Canelo. We love watching him flaunt his greatness, but we want to see it challenged. For a window, Saunders challenged it tonight. Canelo's just too good. and it's a joy to watch. And it's his era and it's his time. And I think he's going to be your undisputed middleweight champion. I think where he goes from there, though, is where it's going to be the most fun, whether it's up higher or he waits for, a small, like, I mean, Errol Spence has been saying forever he wants to come up to middleweight and fight Canelo. So either way, Canelo's going to keep making the best fights. And I think this relationship with Eddie Hearn is helping him. That this, again, felt like a Super Bowl there. So he trusts him. Boxing just set the indoor American record there, 73,000 or whatever it was. That's no small feat. There's no good undercard with that. That was just Canelo and the threat of Saunders, whatever that was. And good night for the sport. Okay. Great night for you if you're watching this and you like Morning Combat and BC all dressed up for CBS Sports HQ. Hopefully you have enjoyed all the great content we've been pounding out for Bellator 258. Check us out, of course, on Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. Luke Thomas will join me, BC, for our typical Monday recap. A lot of great things happening. So for on this night, Canelo Alvarez got 3 or 4 titles at 168. He's the biggest star in the sport. He's a pound for pound king. He's speaking English now. He's telling people to F off. I mean, he's a rock star, right? Never without sin, right? He did a few things we didn't like, but for the most part, he's stewarding this role well. He's not only the hair club president, he's also a client. He's willing to make the biggest fights possible. And in boxing, where that don't happen every day. Thank you, Big Red. Thank you, Canelo. Thank you for watching this. It's late. It's after midnight. We got to let it all hang out. So signing off on the MK is your boy BC. Like us, follow us, tell your friends about us. But nobody does it like us. Nobody. Okay? Mondays with the Canadians, nobody does it like the MK. All right? Okay? I don't care if you're Josh Thompson. I don't care who you are. I'm bringing it. I'm bringing it. I'm bringing it. MK all day, nearly every day. All right? We out.